All right.
Okay, I saw a notice saying it had started,
Yes.
and I'll pull up the PowerPoint and go to the agenda. All right.
Perfect. All right, good. So, good morning, everybody. I'm calling this meeting of the Tier 1 Working Group to order. It is 9:04 on October 17, 2025. I'm Barbara Neal. We're recording the meeting, and the recording will be posted to the task force webpage. Roll call, please verbally acknowledge your presence. Paul White. Okay, Michael Wright.
Morning, I'm here.
Morning. And of course, Rick and Dom are here from Televate. No Elizabeth today. And it looks like we have nobody from the public at this point anyway. So let's go to approval of the agenda. You can see the agenda on the screen there. Any changes, Michael or Paul? No.
No.
Okay. Okay, great. Then we'll consider the agenda approved. Now, we are considering approval of the minutes from the October 14th meeting. These were distributed kind of late yesterday afternoon, around 4:30 or so. I do have one change to them, but I wanted to make sure first that Michael and Paul have had a chance to read them.
I did look at them right before the meeting.
Okay.
Something stood out at me. I'm trying to remember what it was now.
Well, it might be the same thing that I noticed. Michael, did you have a chance to review? Okay.
Yep.
I guess
All
the
right.
only thing under approval of the agenda, it says that I made the motion and Michael seconded it. It doesn't actually say that we voted to approve the agenda, but I guess that's assumed.
Yeah, usually. Oh, right. We had changes to the agenda at that time.
Right.
Yes.
I suppose we should go back to the recording and ensure we had that vote.
I'm quite sure we did, but
You're quite sure we did? Okay.
Yep.
yeah.
Then, Dom, could you make a note to add, the vote piece at that section? And then my change is
Sure.
under the new business section at the top of, it's in the bullet at the top of page 2. And right now it says, Barb Neal moved to distribute all information to all meeting members and schedule and properly notice another meeting. And then the next sentence is, additionally, the group will schedule one more meeting with proper notice in advance of the task force meeting. That second sentence is redundant. I don't think we need it. My intention anyway was to say, we'll schedule and properly notice this meeting. Not another.
Right.
This one makes it sound like we're going to do another one.
Right. Okay.
So that
right.
middle.
It was at the time it was another meeting because today's meeting wasn't planned, but
Right.
so
Right. Okay. Anything else we want to note on the minutes?
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. Can I ask a question, please? Since I'm taking the notes, when we strike that, do we need to republish the minutes? Which I think we would, right?
I think you can. We're going to have a vote in a minute to approve the minutes as discussed.
Okay, all right.
And then I think you can just issue a finalized version of them. Is that correct,
All right.
Paul?
yeah, I think that's fine.
That's correct.
Only other question I had was under approval of the minutes. It says Paul White moved to approve the minutes. Should we specify which, since there was some confusion around minutes, should we specify the dates of the minutes that we were approving?
I thought she mentioned that further in, but
well, it's under new business. It's talked about the group voted again on the meeting notes from the prior meeting. Okay, strike that.
Okay,
That's fine.
Okay. All right then. So is there a motion to approve the minutes amended as discussed?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. And okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes with the changes we just discussed or amended as discussed, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. So Rick, are you all set with the changes?
I am.
Okay, great. All right, so we got through approval of the minutes. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Dom.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. And let's see, we'll move on to our usual, just specifying, clarifying, of course, that we are in the Facilities Regionalization Tier 1 working group. Have the current schedule as shown here, and um, based on some discussion in another meeting, we may try and alter that some to address the remaining working groups in the larger task force meeting. So I guess that'll be addressed on Wednesday. The objectives for this working group is to develop preliminary recommendations and priorities for the physical facilities-based regionalization plan. And we have updated slides describing our preferred approach that we'll address some soon. First, I'll get into the action items. We have responses to a number of the action items, which I'd like to go over. This is the action item summary here, which shows items 1, 2, and 3 closed. Item 4 is still ongoing regarding the types of formulas used to distribute costs among various agencies. 5 and 6 are complete. Action item 7, we have some discussion on, which we'll address in the next slide, and then Rick will probably have some additional information. And we have the maps that we can review in this slide deck addressing action item 8. And we also have a couple of slides addressing action item number 9, which we concluded last time was really an issue for Tier 3, but we did agree that we had researched and identified some training and certification resources, and we have those documented in a couple of slides. So that's a summary of the work action items for action item number 7, which was to develop a short survey to ask dispatch centers if they have interest in or were considering combining with another center. So we have some suggested questions here. Rick, if you don't mind, I'll let you go through these if you want to.
Oh, yeah, sure. Will do. All right, so we have, in addition to this summary, we have a detail behind it. And, the concept here was, are you considering or have you considered consolidated with another dispatch center? And then, if so, what prevented you from consolidating? Or if you considered it, why were you considered it? And then there's a number of, of items below it. Let me just read, just to give you an overview. Oh, that's the wrong survey. Anyway, behind it, funding, staffing, local control. I mean, we tried to give them some boxes to complete in the detailed survey. And so it's pulling up. I had closed it, but it's pulling up on my screen. And anyway, there it goes. I can read it to you. If you have considered consolidating, what is attractive about consolidating with another dispatch center's ability to merge operations to the benefit of 2 or more dispatch centers, trust that together we can better serve our respective communities, funding consideration, option to better manage dispatch staffing shortages. So we've given some bullets, and I'll send out the detail. Dom had a chance to review and make some edits, so I wanted to go through those before we send it to you for detailed. But it's a short survey, shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes to complete. And the goal really is, have you ever been, contacted by another? What would encourage you to consider consolidation? And as you can see there, if another dispatch center was considering consolidation, would your center consider absorbing additional agencies? to dispatch for. So, the key themes here, would you be interested? If you are interested, why are you interested? If you're not interested, why wouldn't you be interested? And so there's a couple of multiple choice decisions that they can fill in their own, but it's short and sweet, and it'll give us some insight into why or why not they would consider. And it will give us that better knowledge to guide our statements going forward.
Any of the working group members have any comments or suggestions for updating this?
I think it sounds like it's headed in the right direction. Did I understand that you're gonna put your finishing touches on your internal edits and then send out to us? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the summary, and the detailed survey is a page, and let's say 2 pages, and it has the multiple choice in there, and that's what I'm going to send out. I'll send out after this meeting.
Okay. Paul, you look like you're about to say something.
No, I'm just debating something in my head. We typically with a survey like this, we leave it anonymous, but it would be nice to know who is completing or who has not completed the survey so that we can go back to them and ask them to please do so. So I'm just wondering, does the survey include a space to identify them?
Name of first item is what facility, name,
Okay.
any contact
Okay.
information.
Okay, perfect.
We're encouraging them to complete it, but we need to know what center at a minimum. I don't know if you all think that they could leave the contact name as anonymous, or do we want to get their information? I certainly could, we could put the box in saying, provide your name and contact information, or not. It's up to you folks how
Yeah.
you want to do it.
I think, in my opinion, in this case, I think we need to know who it is. I think we need to know who to follow up with.
I agree.
Okay.
A lot of times we allow them to leave the name field blank so that if they're not comfortable sharing their identity, that at least maybe they'll send us some information. But in this case, I think we need to know.
Yep.
And I certainly don't know why anybody wouldn't.
No.
They're either
Exactly.
not going to complete it at all, or
Right, or
they're
right.
not just going to
Well, and
put
that's
they're
right,
going to
and
put
that's
their
another thing.
dispatch center and then not write their name in. I wouldn't think, but
right. But in order to know who has not completed it at all, we need to know
right,
who is completing it.
right.
All right. I fully agree. So the way the survey works, once we agree to it, what I'm going to send you is going to be, Elizabeth is off today, or she would put it together, but it'll be a release that under Microsoft is secure. It only can be answered and seen by those it's sent to. It has easy, to follow click boxes, and it looks it's a professional looking survey, as good as it can, as good as we can make it without, having spent a great deal of time on it. But it'll look like it's, meant for everyone. And what I would suggest though, once we have it and you all approve it, that it be sent out from one of the working group members.
Might help prevent it from getting caught in the spam filters too.
Right.
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 All right, ready to move on, everyone?
I also can just going back to 7 for a second, slide 7.
Yes.
So in item number 3, no, item number 2, is that the one on the survey? I can't see the font.
Yeah,
the one
I can't either.
Yeah. I have reached out to the League of Cities and Towns, and they haven't replied back yet. So I will
Yeah, that
call.
was action item 6.
All right, I have called, I have emailed, and I will call today. So I have not yet heard back from them. I was monitoring email, sent a follow-up reminder this morning, but I will be sure to get a response back from them and share with you as soon as possible. All right, thank you, Don.
Great, thanks. Moving on to the next couple action items, we have some responses, and these maps were shown at our last meeting and then sent out with the slide deck. So nothing new here, but just a review. We have various maps to show the different locations. Here we show the current PSAPs, of course, of which there are 6. The map on the right shows those locations as well as the out-of-state dispatch centers, which also there are 6. This shows the 25 state dispatch centers that are within the state of Vermont, but not one of the 6 PSAPs. And then also we had maps of those 25. We identified there were 4 that were identify themselves as non-24/7 dispatch centers, and then there were also 13 that are what we call self-dispatch only, or independent, if we want to term that way. They only dispatch for themselves, the agencies within their town and or city. And then also we had previously we had mapped the various by towns, the various dispatch centers per the current information we have. So the legend on the right shows the different dispatch centers, and then the map shows each town and which dispatch center dispatches for them. This is for law enforcement, and we also have fire and EMS separately. So we can see that fire and EMS are quite similar, but not identical. There are a few differences there.
Lots of pretty colors on those maps.
Yeah, a lot of colors.
Yeah.
It's
I did take
it's an
the
autumn map. It's an autumn map.
what's that?
Autumn color map.
Yeah, right. And I did take the time to equate all of these colors with the same dispatch center. So if you look among them, they're all always the same. So, this one, like Williston, the dark green Williston is always that same color.
Got it.
So
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Make efforts to do that. Action item number 9, we had research.
Tom, can I add?
Yeah.
Also, there is a spreadsheet that, to develop this. So there is a spreadsheet that includes them, the affiliation by name as well, so that you can see it on the map, but you also see a listing in a spreadsheet.
Right.
And of course, that data, of course, all comes from 911 files, right?
That's right.
I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it really helps paint a picture of how this isn't a simple problem, or no, it's not even a problem necessarily. It's not a simple situation, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
quite complex.
Well, the other consideration is that tomorrow it might change. A town could, jump
Absolutely.
to leave one and jump to another.
Absolutely.
And that creates challenges because there's competition. I mean, we've spoken to centers who talk about how they lost the town and the funding affected their ability to provide the similar services, or that they've added some towns, taking them away from other centers. So the towns and the respective agencies are free to jump ship anytime.
Yeah.
Yep. Wherever they can get the best deal.
Right.
That's right. Exactly.
Or the best customer service.
Right.
Yep.
For action item 9, we identified the training and certification opportunities. This slide addresses those opportunities through NINA with some descriptions here, and there are some links. And so we have this documented for information. And we have a similar one for APCO. That's obviously this is used quite extensively as well.
Yeah, and that's what we use here in Vermont too for for
Right.
911. Can you go back to the Nina slide for a second?
Certainly.
I thought Nina had a 40-hour class. It doesn't, I mean, a week-long certification class in telecommunicator something. Maybe it's this, oh, that's the core competencies course.
Yes, yes, I
Okay.
show over here. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions on these?
Yeah, Tom, I have a question. I didn't have a chance to review that slide. Though these are offered online, if I'm not mistaken, right? These are online courses.
Some of them are, yes, like the one Barb just referred to,
Yeah. Yeah, those are
telecommunicator core
online courses.
conduit. Right. Yeah, you have access. It's sold by online access for the course.
Right.
Yeah, a number of them are.
So,
Yeah.
as this goes along, I would probably, I guess ultimately it will be up to whatever governance group is created, but I'd recommend that, I think I said this last time, that we get Vermont folks certified as instructors to provide these programs to Vermont folks. And that's how it works in 911. It seems to work well. And then I had another thought that's just left my mind. I'll think of it. Oh, we have the 911 board has a platform called Virtual Academy that you might be familiar with that offers all kinds of continuing education programs, short courses that can help fill the yearly continuing education requirements, and also allows for the development of our own curriculum. So that's a good resource too. And it could be, well, I don't know how it could be shared, but there's a contract, with us at the state level. So probably there's a mechanism for making it available to others.
What's the name of that again, Barb? I want to make sure.
It's Virtual Academy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have I guess I'll call them the primary slides that we've been discussing that describe the right now shown as alternate. I guess it probably makes more sense to say this is our recommended approach where the working group is going. It was alternate initially from what MCP had proposed, but I think this is where we are kind of on the verge of going as our recommended approach. And we've broken this down a little further and tried to add some additional information. So some of this is new, and we're certainly looking for input from the working group here. So as we have discussed in the past, we would propose to continue with all dispatch centers initially. We were referring to what we call regional communication centers. I guess as we see that, that's a kind of a subset of the dispatch center, because a dispatch center can be potentially one of three types as we see it. Certainly one of the PSAPs, of course, because they also provide dispatch services as well as call taking. There would be an independent or standalone, however you want to term it, dispatch center that receives 911 calls from one of the PSAPs and then dispatches first responder personnel for their individual city, town, or facility as it may be. And then a regional communication center, and just to be clear, I'm reviewing these three bullets here. The regional communication center is one that, of course, also receives 911 calls transferred from a PSAP, but dispatches for multiple cities or towns. So we had talked about definitions, and that's what we have currently come up with as suggestion for review and altering as necessary. As part of this recommended approach, all dispatch centers would operate subject to specific policy and technology benchmarks as defined by the governing body. And the key incentive was that over time, the governance body would periodically introduce benchmarks to be met by dispatch centers to continue receiving whether it's accreditation that the governance body defines or resources in order to encourage improvements at all centers or natural regionalization. And the resources are defined in some of the next slides. Also,
One thought, I worry a little
Yes.
bit about the accreditation word. I guess I won't get hung up on it too much, but I don't think we've really talked about like an accreditation process. It's a heavy lift, I think. But at least resources should be there, and I can live with accreditation for now. I also think, should we add a note like on bullet number 2, or maybe it's at the bottom of this slide? When we say the policy and technology benchmarks are going to be defined by the governing body and the rate is going to be defined by the governing body, I'd like to make note that the recommendation about the governing body is that there be a robust engagement with users and stakeholders, right? And so should we reference that here? Defined by the governing body, following engagement with users and stakeholders or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too picky about it here.
No, I think that's certainly, I think that's consistent with the vision, from the governance working group.
Right.
So say something by defined by the governing body,
I think after on the next bullet, yeah, go ahead, Don.
well, I was going to say interaction with a broad collection of stakeholders, something of that nature.
Yeah, that works.
Did you have an alternative, Rick?
No, but you need to move the E behind the K. In that stakeholder.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That'll work itself out, I hope. Okay.
Yeah.
Stakeholder.
So I think on the
Election.
next bullet to maybe address Barb's concern there. Over time, likely years, the governing body will periodically introduce benchmarks at a rate determined by the governing body, presented to be, something of the fact that, at a rate, the benchmarks, we want to present them to the dispatch centers. We want to meet them, but they need to be conveyed to be determined and by the governing body and conveyed to and met by the dispatch centers. Something of the point that says we got to convey it to them.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah. I don't know if that works for Barb, but
that works for me.
Okay, any other thoughts or comments? Ready to move on to some of the details? So I guess we would see this as kind of the overview, the high level description of the approach. Then there's some details here. I guess I'll again refer to this as recommended. And the next couple of slides describe the some examples or potential benchmarks that would be identified by the governing body. Obviously, this, the details would be developed by that governing body once it is in place and operating, but these are some recommendations to consider. And then the next slide would address the potential resources that the governing body could make available to centers that agree to comply with the benchmarks. So,
KPIs, I think we should define it's what, key performance indicators or something?
Indicators.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I would say right there. Yep, there you go.
okay.
So I don't know if this is the first time you may be seeing this document here from APCO. I had a chance to review it and read it pretty thoroughly. And it's very comprehensive. I mean, these KPIs they give you some samples. You can create your own. There's a sheet there, but these are reasonable, requirements. And obviously
Yeah.
there are some there that are more focused on dispatching only, and some that are more operational. There's also KPIs for call taking, and
Right,
it's a very
right.
robust document that seemed to be updated. The most recent update was in 2019.
Yes. You're exactly right. There were some for call taking, which of course we did not include here, but we included the sections for dispatching, and this also included technical systems, which included, for example, use and availability of CAD and alerting radio. It also addressed facilities, systems such as backup power generator, et cetera. So yeah, we did find it very comprehensive. One key note is that I think we talked last time about potential timeframes. For example, like mission critical dispatch refers to time required to dispatch an agency. They do not recommend specific benchmark numbers. They
Okay.
recommend that those be developed by the individual entity or agency that's instituting these to allow for their unique situations.
That's
Yeah.
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes it more difficult. We
Very.
handle. Remember last time I talked about this NFPA requirement to get
Yes.
between
Yes.
call receiving and the trucks out the door, or the truck's notified to get out the door, of like 15 seconds or something. 911 learned very early on, before I was even there, that was not a benchmark that could be met. It actually took about a minute to get the transfer done. And so we changed our requirement. We took the time element out, just like it sounds like they've done, and we put in
Yes.
the words, all of these things must happen without unnecessary delay, which, so, I mean,
But I
it's
would
pretty
think this
vague.
would, yeah, agreed. But I would also think that these could be, identified as benchmarks that would be measured so that they could be tracked from, for year to year, for example, to ensure that that most dispatch centers are being brought up to similar levels and there's continuing improvement. Uh, I would think that would be the way it could be handled.
Right, that's true. You could figure out what your bell curve is, right,
Right.
of these times,
Exactly.
and
Right.
then
Right.
understand where people are falling, and if there are like consistent outliers or things like that. So
Right.
that makes sense.
So I would also add to that, we maybe not making the amount of time it takes. So how many seconds after receiving the 911 call, has the dispatcher notified the responding agency? Well, that gives us a better understanding of what percentage of they're making, within that time frame, and they get to set their own time. If we want to go with that, because I would think that some volunteer agencies, depending on what time you're contacting them, they may be more difficult to respond because they're not available or whatever it might be. So yes, you don't want to penalize yourself, but you also want to, use that information internally to determine, if certain volunteer agencies are not responding in a timely manner, and understand why, so that you may be able to help them or transfer calls to another center or whatever it is. But I think not having that information, even if we're not going to use it as a way to rank their capability, is valuable for them so that they can identify some of their own
Exactly.
shortfalls.
Yep. That makes sense.
And we also identified some of the benchmarks might relate to, well, we have talked about previously about staffing levels, although I think where we discussed previously is maybe not specifically addressing the actual staffing level, but approaching it from the benchmarks. For the dispatch centers meeting the benchmarks as defined, then staffing level would not be addressed. But if the benchmarks are not being met, and part of it is due to insufficient staffing levels, then the dispatch center would be, the governing body could work with that dispatch center to update their staffing plan. And what we don't, I think it's important to note here that, Rick and I have discussed, and we don't address here, there was some previous discussion potentially making different benchmarks for those that we call regional communication centers via independent. We felt that all dispatch centers should be meeting a minimum level of performance. So we did not feel that it was prudent to suggest that there be different benchmarks for those different types of dispatch centers. So nothing in here addresses that. We assume that there needs to be a minimum level of service and performance met by any dispatch center in order to make sure there's equitable service across the state.
I think this makes sense. And you probably covered this already, Dom, but I blanked out. What's the difference? So the mission critical dispatch KPIs measure the times, time to this, time to that. What's the conditional dispatching KPIs?
There's some other details suggested in the document. I'll take a quick look here. It's kind of broken down just a little bit further. They talk about high priority calls dispatched within a given time, or dispatch times based on the busy times or busy season, and some additional thing.
So it sounds like it's kind of like a prioritization thing, right? So if you've got the
there's some of
cardiac
that,
arrest
right.
and the sprained ankle at the same time,
Mhm.
you go with the cardiac arrest first. Things like that.
Yeah, it's primarily addresses priority. Also talks about incidents generated by the field versus those generated by calls.
Okay.
So further broken down.
Tom, can you copy that link and put it in the chat or send that on email?
For this file?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to review it.
Absolutely. I'll put it in chat.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it too, because I've spent the past 20 some odd years of my life since I've been at the 911 board ignoring anything that was specifically dispatch. So I'll need to look at it as well. Or picking out the pieces that would apply to the call intake piece. So
Right.
all right.
Yeah, I like that they combine the two. I mean, obviously they're separate services, but they did combine them, and there's some, some value in that report because it is, well, there's a lot of value in the report because it is comprehensive.
Mhm.
Also, some of the benchmarks just would be, use of the CAD, use of the common CAD system uh, was one that we referenced before, and of course, compliance to policies and procedures as defined by the governing body, what we've discussed before. Uh,
I also think it's important, Tom, if we highlight even this, in the line above, compliance, the policies, training and procedures, training based on national standards, certification customized to facilitate respective Vermont requirements. I think that holds true for KPIs as well, because, these generalized documents, best practices documents, even say so, they even make that similar statement at the beginning. These best practices are recommended, but they should be,
right.
adopted to your particular requirements.
Right. Okay, any other thoughts or questions on this? Again, these are the addressing the benchmarks. The next slide, well, kind of the
Don, I'm sorry.
final
I'm sorry
slide.
to be sorry to be a pest. Can you go back to that last slide, please?
Oops, I got the wrong. Yeah, just a second. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I
screwing with
got you.
I had the
That's,
wrong thing in my.
that's not gonna work.
Nope. Okay.
All right. So you're loading it. Did you load it in the chat? It's already there. So,
Yeah.
Barb, and Paul in particular, the last statement there, on governance body role, development and oversight, audit of benchmarks. We didn't discuss all the details, regarding the governance body. Like, this is a specific, requirement of the governance body. And I don't know, your thoughts on whether or not this is a deal breaker or this is acceptable or, within our staffing requirements. But since, there is that governance discussion ongoing that you two were part of a meeting with the E911 board, I just, did you have any reaction to this? Or, I mean, we think it's appropriate,
Yeah.
but I don't, we don't want to, push, requirements and activities to the governance board that may not be appropriate.
I think it's appropriate, and that's based on my experience with the 911 board, which we actually, I think this language or similar is in our statute. But Paul was going to say something.
Well, just thinking about, would this, thinking about who the members of the board are they going to actually themselves develop and audit these benchmarks, or are they going to direct someone else to do it? Like, if this governing body is comprised of the Secretary of Transportation, the Secretary of ADS, these high-level people that don't know squat about dispatching, they're not personally going to develop these benchmarks. They're going to direct staff to do it.
That's certainly what I would envision. We identify the subcommittees that would be
Yep.
part of the governance body, and we would certainly assume one of those subcommittees would be focused on training, certification. One might be focused on other KPIs, for example.
So if that still qualifies as the governing body developing and auditing, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, right. The current governance structure has 5 subcommittees just recommended.
Right.
Operations and training were 2 that this could fall under. There's no reason why two committees couldn't collaborate, but it's, might be assigned to one and another review it. But I agree with you, Paul. I think the governance body tasked, and then one of the facilitators that works for the governance body, it participates and hosts meetings and gathers notes and distributes it, whatever. But yes, I think it would be developed based on the subcommittee's participation.
I think the bottom line, though, is this work is still going to be done by a staff member, right? They're
Yep.
going to pull together the recommendations to bring to the subcommittee, which is fine. But anyway, there would need to be adequate staff to do this because
Oh,
so
absolutely. Right.
a member of the subcommittee is going to be one of the people or several of the people on the list of full membership, right? And then they're supported by someone from the actual staff.
Yeah,
I don't see the subcommittees doing any of the, they're not going to go out and research stuff. They're not going to go out and pull stuff in, but I guess they'll direct the staff people to do it. Okay, I'm just trying to get my head around it.
Sure.
Subcommittees are going, just like this task force, are going to be made up of volunteers who have other jobs,
Yeah.
Right.
and aren't going to have the time to do it.
Right. Right. So that's okay. And that's similar to the 911 board had standing subcommittees in the beginning, right? And then over time, the subcommittees went away or maybe meet occasionally if there's some special thing that comes up. But there's a great reliance on the staff right now. And this would probably morph into that, I would think, as well, over time.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to have somebody responsible for the focused work, I guess. So, okay.
thank you.
The next slide is mentioned, kind of addresses the resources or so I guess this would be mostly a carrot approach as opposed to a carrot and a stick, mostly the carrot approach as to what what could be provided to the dispatch centers. Certainly, we've listed here training opportunities, as we've discussed before, common training courses, potentially a state-funded dispatch academy, the common policies and procedures. Again, we would envision these developed by one of the committees under the governing body that would develop those policies and procedures, and then they would be available to all dispatch centers, as well as job descriptions. And then from a technology perspective, the next few bullets address potential technology, access to technology that would be made available to the dispatch centers. And as we've shown it here, of course, subject to discussion, we feel that this would be the carrot that could be provided to those dispatch centers that agree to meet the minimum benchmarks that have been defined by the governing body. So the technical portions would mean, the CAD, for example, access to CAD, common CAD, including the annual licensing fees, access to the Rapid SOS platform that we've discussed. We wanted to include some LMR resources, potentially if we have regional simulcast cells, which is being discussed, those dispatch centers would have access to those LMR resources and potentially shared maintenance agreements to simplify maintaining those resources. Potentially staffing for shortages or training vacancies, and could be we've talked in other working groups about a hybrid staffing model where there could be a certified dispatcher team that could be made available to fill temporary shortages or vacancies due to training, for example. And finally, some of the non-dispatch activities support. that we've also discussed in other working groups, administrative duties, records, warrants, etc., that are that take away from some of the day-to-day activities of a dispatcher. Potentially, from a regional perspective, there could be teams that could address that to offload some of those common tasks that currently now are handled by some of the dispatch team.
Would you envision that training records would be maintained by the individual and dispatch center, or would they be maintained by the board staff, let's say that, the governing entity staff?
I think with police, fire, and EMS, it's both. It's not, I know that with law enforcement, it's both. The employing agency maintains records and the police academy maintains records.
And so they demonstrate
Oh,
to
oh.
the police academy that
able-
they've met the records, yeah, or met the requirements. That makes sense.
That would make sense to me, that the agency would maintain that information, but they could demonstrate it to the governing body, for example, if there is a periodic audit, for example.
Yeah, I bet it's the same with EMS, right, Michael? Like, don't you have to demonstrate you've met whatever requirements to somebody?
Yep.
Okay. Our friend Stephen Whitaker brought up or had a comment at the 911 board, essentially expressing concern that the statewide CAD proposal might not be such a great idea because everyone would have unfettered access to every other aspect of, and you're going to have medical information in there, you're going to have sensitive law enforcement information, all of those things. I just want to confirm my understanding of things. In my view, all of that could be controlled by like appropriate role-based access mechanisms within these systems. Okay, that's all I
Yes.
want to know. Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
And like with the rapid SOS, and making a 911 call information visible to a dispatch center, we can limit that to just the geographic area that dispatch agency is responsible for. So that's my understanding anyway. So they wouldn't be seeing statewide everything, just what pertains to them. Okay.
Any other questions or comments on this list?
Yeah, we've mentioned several times this dispatch team that could come in for staffing shortages or to cover training.
Yes.
I think it's a great idea. I'm wondering, who are those team members? Is there going to be a cadre of people that work for the governing body, or are they going to be dispatchers that work in various agencies around the state, but then are for example, I think about the state police has a critical incident dispatch team, which is available to respond to do dispatching for critical incidents with a command post. But they all have full-time jobs in a dispatch center somewhere. Anytime they're activated to go perform that role, they have to be backfilled back at their home agency. So I'm just wondering, would the governing body wouldn't have this cadre of employees sitting around waiting for somebody to need help? So I'm just wondering, by creating this team to help people with staffing, are we creating other staffing problems elsewhere?
Right. So
It's a great idea. I'd
Certainly.
like to have that resource available. I just don't know where they're gonna live or who they would be.
So we might need more information, Dom, like on like how other entities have set up these TERT teams, right? So I
Okay.
envision it as being volunteers, right? Who volunteers from existing agencies within Vermont who make themselves available if there's a need. But I would kind of envision it as, you can't put your own dispatch center at risk to go run off and dispatch for somebody else. But maybe there would be enough of them, enough willing to do that, you'd have enough to pull from to cover at least some shortages.
Either part-time workers that have additional time, or those that might be available to take on an additional shift at another location. Is that what you're thinking?
I think so. And but then the who pays them?
So if you have a dispatcher at Lamoille County Sheriff who says, yeah, I'll volunteer to come in on my day off to help staff Shelburne, somebody's got to pay that overtime.
So
Right.
may I butt in a second? I have to apologize. Dom and I have another conflicting meeting. And so
Okay.
I am going to leave and join another meeting. And Dom is going to finish here. And we'll review the meeting minutes. I'll finish up meeting minutes based on reviewing the video. But I apologize for having to go. This is a really important point. I'm glad you brought it up, Paul. It was on my list to bring up. I hope by the time I review the video that you have it solved.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll
Hey,
see
thank
if
you.
we
I,
disappoint.
I wish you all a great weekend, and I apologize for leaving. I will forward out the survey once on Monday after Elizabeth's back and puts it all together in a formal document so it looks the way it's supposed to, and ship it out to you folks ideally on Monday afternoon.
Sounds good.
Thank you all. See
Thanks,
you.
All right.
Good weekend.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Oh, and I see Michael just popped up in the chat saying he needs to leave by 10:15, but I think we're nearing the end, right?
We are in terms of the slides we have. Yeah, certainly more discussion, might be relevant. But Paul, you bring up a number of good questions, and I don't know that sitting here right now I have the answers to those. As Barb, you suggested, we can try and research how other entities have done that, have set up, part-time teams or available resources that could fill in some instances. We can look into that. But yes, that's it is a good idea, but difficult potentially to implement. Have to
Okay.
identify the resources, have to identify how they're going to be paid, et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are also commercial firms that provide that service.
Really?
Yeah. I know of one. I don't know a lot of the detail.
In Vermont?
You would have to contract with them. No, they're not existing currently in Vermont.
Okay. Because it's all their staff would have to have background checks and all that.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know how that all works.
And
Unless
that might be more appropriate for the next bullet, the support activities, for example.
Mhm.
That would maybe be a little bit easier to implement for that type of support.
Right. Okay.
That's
So-
that might be a good niche for someone approaching retirement. Just I think we're kind of like we have such a prevalence in Vermont of traveling nurses, traveling dispatchers.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So it sounds like we need more information on how that would actually work, but I'm wondering if maybe I'm jumping ahead here on the agenda, but I'm wondering if we have enough pulled together that we would want to get on the agenda for the next working group. I mean, for the next regular task force meeting to present our findings.
That's the primary question. Yes. I agree. And what I would envision, if we feel we're prepared, it would be primarily these three slides, the high level discussion of the recommended approach, the details related to the benchmarks, and then details related to potential resources.
I think we're ready to present that, and then we can just explain that we're still doing additional research on this
Right.
support dispatch team or whatever we want to call it.
Like every other working group, there still are some unanswered questions. However,
Yep.
Right.
we're kind of at our end point.
Yep.
Right, and certainly be worthwhile to get input from others on the task force on those
Right.
questions.
Right. Okay, I think I can, Emily put out an email actually during this meeting with the draft agenda for next week, and I told her to hold tight because we've got a few things to add. So we can add this to, we can add the tier 1 recommendations to next week's agenda, if everybody agrees.
I agree.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And I will also have prepared some additional, if we get into discussion as to, for example, further discussion on what MCP had recommended, we'll have those slides available as well, their regionalization options, kind of our boiling down of them into, um, further detail. So that'll all be available once we get in, based on where the discussion goes, I guess.
Okay.
And just an overview that, of course, the working group did consider all those various options. We talked about the pros and cons of each, but then ended up with this recommended approach.
Okay. That makes sense.
Are we ready to go back to our agenda?
Yes.
So as you just mentioned, Barb, so you'll work with Emily to make sure we're on the agenda for the task force meeting on Wednesday?
Yes.
Great.
And after we conclude this meeting, if at least Paul could stay on, I just want to get some input on where we would put all these things, because we've got a couple other things that we want to add as well, and where they should logically go on the agenda. Dom, you might have some input. Well, you've got to jump to the other meeting, but if you'd like to stay, that.
No, I can stay for
Okay.
for a few minutes,
Okay.
certainly.
All right. So I don't think we need a next meeting of this working group, do we? Or
Not
No,
right now.
that's necessary, and if we get additional questions or input from the task force.
okay. And we have no one here for public comment today.
No, I don't see anyone.
So I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn unless there's something else.
So moved.
Thank you, Michael.
Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor of adjourning for today, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Perfect. Meeting is adjourned. Dom, if you could stop the recording.
Do that, yes.
And we can have that quick discussion about the agenda for next week. Michael, thank you. Oops, missed him. Let me see.